It's a blessing and a privilege to have Brother Meshach with us tonight. And he is a young minister and is with us from Trinidad. He's been here in West Tennessee for how many months now? 5 months. And he came during the hottest months of the year. It's finally cooling off for you, but he doesn't like that as much. And so I turned the fan off tonight under the pulpit because while I run hot, he runs cold. And so, it's a blessing to have him here. It's a blessing that God is continuing to call young men to preach the word. It's a blessing that God is calling young men to preach the word not only in the United States of America, but in other countries. And people that have an opportunity to do exactly what we talk about when we read the Great Commission out of Matthew 28, to go to the farthest places of the world and take the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he has been raised in a Christian home, and he has had the opportunity to experience difficulty and persecution in a land that is not Christian. And so I know he appreciates and enjoys the freedoms that we have here, and I've enjoyed the time that I've been able to spend with him. And so I would recommend for your attention tonight and prayers, Brother Meshach Paige.
Well, good evening, everybody. Now, this is always the scariest part about preaching, is the introduction. I forget my own name. I forget what to say. This is the only part that, I get nervous from. Every time I go to a new church, and then the second time it's fine, but the first time I forget which name. What do I tell you to call me? Meshach or Andrew? Because Brother Johnny don't know what to call me, Meshach or Andrew, and the first time is always, it's always scary when you first come up here, when you come around new people. But I know Brother James, I heard him preach at Oak Grove's Youth Weekend, and I thoroughly enjoyed that message. I remember it like the back of my hand. He preached on the heart. I remember that. He preached on saying following your heart is an empty statement, because obviously you're going to do what the heart tells you to do. But then you got to try to follow God more than your heart instead, because the heart can lead you wrong, because we're sinners at the end of the day. And then I heard him again at the revival here the Friday morning, and then here Sunday night, and then at the association Friday. And Bro Andrew Stokes, listen to what Andrew Stokes told me. When we had the ordination service here, Andrew Stokes told me in the fellowship hall, he said, Andrew, I hear you're coming here to preach. Or Meshach, you're coming here to preach. They only have good preaching here, so you better give them a good one. I said, well, they called the wrong person. Brother James made a big mistake. You ain't going to hear good preaching tonight. I'm just kidding. But in all seriousness, it's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you guys thank you, Brother James, for the confidence you had in me to call me and ask me to come here and preach. And I want to thank God most of all. I want to thank God for saving me. That's the best thing that happened to me in my life. And what's so amazing about it, I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with it. It was all God. All the salvation, that was God alone. I deserve zero credit for that. What can I do to save myself? I can search the whole entire world, and I ain't going to find it. I'm only going to find it in Jesus Christ alone. I'm not going to find it in anybody else. So I guess this is where the hardest part is, the introduction. My name is Meshach Andrew Paige, and my dad actually, he spelled my name incorrectly. So if you spell it, it's Meshach. But what they wanted to have me named was Meshach, like from the three Hebrew boys from Daniel chapter 3, which we might go into tonight. And I'm 20 years old. I was saved at a young age. I had been saved 3 weeks after turning 8. And some people say, well, that's too young. You can't be saved that young. You have to be way older. You have to be past a teenager. Well, God, when He's ready for you, He's ready for you. I know deep down inside that conviction I felt. That Holy Spirit conviction is not an option when it comes to being saved. It is a necessity. You need that drawing power. That Holy Spirit must draw you. You must be drawn to God. You ain't going to be saved no other way. You ain't going to be saved by repeating a prayer. You ain't going to be saved by baptism in salvation. Baptism is completely different. We looked at the movie, The Blind, and they made it more about baptism than about God. They made it more about baptism than about being saved. But I'm here to tell you, I know deep down inside my heart I'm saved. And that's here to stay. Nobody can take away my salvation from me. That's what's so amazing about it. Everybody, we have that chain on us. That chain that binds us to the state of being lost. And not even the strongest hammer, nor the sharpest sword can break or cut that chain. But the blood of Jesus Christ can obliterate that chain. And guess what? Not even the devil and all of his angels can put it back together. And you will never be lost again once you are saved. It is here to stay. That salvation is here to stay. And I know it. I'm not imagining things. I'm not saying, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm daydreaming. Maybe I'm hallucinating. No, I know it. Paul did not say, I think. Paul did not say maybe. Paul did not say, I'm not sure. Paul said, for I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature shall be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Christ Jesus, our Lord. That's what he says. He said, for I am persuaded. I know it. I know for 100% that I am saved. I don't have to worry about it. I know if I drop dead right here, right now, I'll take my next breath in heaven with Lord Jesus Christ. I know that. And I cannot wait for that day. I'm in no hurry to die, by the way. But I'm saying when I do die, I know exactly what's going to happen to me. Exactly where I'm going. People question all the time, well, what's going to happen when we die? How are we even here? Listen, the answer to it all is Jesus Christ. He is the beginning. He is the end. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, Jesus Christ. And that name, Jesus Christ, is known all over the world. That is not a local name. That is global. It is international, universal. Jesus Christ is a name like no other name. My name will be forgotten eventually, but the name Jesus Christ will never be forgotten. My word will be forgotten, but the word of God will never be forgotten, ever. We ain't talking about, this is not about us. I'm supposed to be introducing myself, but this ain't about me to begin with. But this really ain't about us, this is about God. It's all about God. Our very purpose for being created is for God's purpose. People say we were created to enjoy life. Listen, we were created for God's purpose. Whatever His purpose is, that's what it is, not what we want it to be. And let me tell you, people, I heard someone recently ask me, how is God real? God ain't real. Evolution is real. We evolved. Let me ask you this. How did evolution could ever know that we need male and female to come together and procreate? How did evolution know that we need to breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, and the trees would breathe in the carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen, and we go back and forth? How would evolution know all that? How would evolution know to send the rain? How did evolution know we need to eat and drink water? How did evolution know all that? It was not evolution. It was a beautiful, brilliant, intellectual mind of God. He is the one who did it all. He is the one. He is the one who thought of all this. The brilliance, our creation itself shows how brilliant God is. When you really think about how our body works, when you think about how everything works, how the sky works, how the position we are from the sun. If we are 1 inch further from the sun, we might freeze to death. If we are 1 inch closer, we might boil to death. Who knows? But God has us right where we need to be. He gives us everything we need. He sends the rain when we need it. He gives us food when we need it. He makes sure we have water, a place to lay our head. And if you look at the world today, they take it all for granted. They take it all for granted. And the message tonight, actually, is one that the Lord has laid on my heart months ago, and I preached it months ago. Let's see how that was. I was here for 5 months, so I preached it 4 months ago. And that's what He laid on my heart for tonight again. So if that's what He laid for us, then that's what we're going to do. Go ahead. Well, I still have to introduce myself. Let's go ahead to Daniel chapter 6 while I introduce myself. And you know, He saved me when I was a little over 8 years old. And you know, the day when He called me to preach, that is something I never expected to happen. Because I was in America with my dad last year. I was with him for 2 months. And I was with him in church every Sunday morning and most Sunday nights, and he would be at a new church preaching every time in front of new people. And I said to myself, I will never, ever do what he is doing. I will never stand in front of people I don't know, never met before, new country, new world, new culture, and talk about anything. But guess what? It wasn't my decision to begin with. It was all God's decision. If He called someone to preach, listen, Brother James can relate to this. I did not decide to do this. If I had decided to do it, it's wrong. But God called me to do this. I did not wake up one morning saying, I'm going to give this preaching thing a try. I'm going to see what this is about. It's not my decision to make. If He called me to do it, I must do it. And Brother James said he's thankful that God is calling younger people. Well, I have something that I'd like to say about that. And I don't know how much people would agree, but He is calling young people. And I know of a preacher say when they receive the call to preach, maybe they run from it for a little bit. and then they surrender to it. Some of them question their call, all of that. I believe all that is true. But then I believe right now, today, I believe he is calling younger people. But they are just not surrendering to the call. Because my life changed for some good and some worse after surrendering to the call. And the worse, it doesn't really matter. People look at you differently when you're a preacher. People treat you differently and talk to you differently. I can never have a normal conversation with someone my age because I'm a preacher. They talk to me as if I'm an old man. They're like, oh my, I better watch what I say. He's going to tell God on me. I ain't going to tell God nothing. He knows it all. The guys at work make fun of me. Oh, I better not say that. The preacher man is going to tell God on me. I don't have to tell him a single word. He knows exactly what you're saying, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what's in your heart, what's in your mind. He knows it all. And these are, I believe, a bunch of younger people. When they receive the call, they run from it because they know they might be called, if you know what young people are like today, which we might get into in the message, you understand and know that they really think it's kind of weird to be a Christian. They think they call you a weirdo. They make fun of you. Oh, you're so weird. That's for old people. That's old school. Well, let me tell you, what Jesus did on the cross was 2,000 years ago. That is old school. And that's how it should be today. Old school. They don't have to change. Culture changes all the time. Culture changes. The norms changes. The trends changes. But God don't change. The Word of God especially is not going to change. We will change everything. We will change the way we act, the way we talk, the way we treat each other. But the Word of God is going to be the same. The plan of salvation is going to be the same. What Jesus Christ did on the cross is going to be the same. The only way to heaven is going to be the same. The very same way, and it's not going to change. And these younger people might not be surrendering to the call because they're afraid the world might view them differently. They might be made fun of by everyone. I have been a lot of people made fun of me for being preaching. They mock me for being a preacher. Especially in Trinidad, they're like, oh, preacher man, we'd love to invite you here, but you may not like what's going on. Oh, preacher man this, preacher man that. Preacher man, come at the bar. We're going to drink a beer. Preacher man. And that's what happens sometimes when you're called. And I believe that's the reason some young people are not surrendering to the call. But guess what? I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I only care what God thinks of me. I don't care. These people might hate me. These people might want to make fun of me. But as long as I know I'm doing what God wants me to do, in my heart, I'm satisfied and I'm at peace doing whatever the Lord will lay on my heart to do, no matter how people may respond to it. And growing up in Trinidad, I grew up in the south of Trinidad, in the village I grew up in. So all of the neighboring houses surrounding was Hindu houses, and we got a cross back here, or we got a cross up there. The way you have the cross over there, when you go by the Hindu, we got a portrait, we got all that. When you go to the Hindu houses, what they have statues of their Hindu gods. They have portraits, paintings of their Hindu gods. And what they believe is there's a God of strength, there's a God of light, there's a God of healing, there's a God of fertility, there's a God of food, there's a God of this, there's a God of that. That's what they believe. And they have different statues for each God. And all the Hindus have that in every one of their houses. And we were the only house in that village without that. So growing up, it was it wasn't hard. Well, it was a little bit, but it was a little tough. But I knew in the end that what I was doing was right. I knew that just because everybody else wanted to be Hindu, don't mean it is right. Just because everybody else is doing it does not mean it is right. Just because everybody else is doing it does not mean it is cool. Does not mean it is okay. Because growing up in school, I've told this story so many times. Growing up in school, my brother and I believe Brother Johnny met my brother, we're over here in the fellowship hall. We were the only two Christians in school. It was like 700 kids in primary school. We were the only two Christian kids in school. And they would make every single child say prayers and sing songs to the Hindu gods in Hindi. Now, we don't speak Hindi in Trinidad. So they are singing and praying to false gods in a language they don't even understand. And that's just not even funny. It's just sad. And growing up, that's all I knew around me. And my brother and I would never follow that. We would never listen to that. All the principals and the teachers would be mad at us. And this is pretty funny. They would call our parents and be like, your kids are not behaving in school. You need to get them straight. But I did not get any whooping when I went home because I did what's right. I did what's right. Just because they say it's wrong doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because they say it's right doesn't mean it's right. Whatever God says is right is right. And whatever God says is wrong is wrong. If you ever disagree with God, you are always wrong. Because God is never wrong. That's what we'll get into in a message. And right now I'm currently, if you know Derek Jowers, I'm living with him right now. I'm staying with him for a couple, maybe more, couple months, and I'm gonna find my own place to start renting. But for now, I'm staying with Brother Derek Jowers, and I've been staying with him for 5 months now, and I've stayed with him for 2 months last year. And I say it's amazing in America. You know, people say America is the best place in the world, but they have their own reason. My reason for this being the best place in the world is the religious freedom. That's my reason. Because growing up, you can't talk about Jesus like that, because they'll treat you like an outcast. They'll make fun of you, all this and that. And the Hindu people, let me just say this quick. We have a message. I don't want to take too much time for the introduction, but the Hindu people, it's so hard to reach them, because my dad was kicked out of his house for leaving the Hinduism way. And Hindus have a saying in Trinidad, but if you're born a Hindu, you will die a Hindu. And if you're born into a Hindu family and you leave that Hinduism, they will never speak to you a day in your life again, ever. So I never met my dad's parents. I never met anyone on his side of the family over there, because he left the way of Hinduism. And that's why it's so hard to reach Hindus, because they have to choose. Am I going to listen to this Christian person? Am I going to listen to this person talking about Jesus and let my whole family disown me and never talk to me again? Or am I just going to stay with my family? You know, that's a plot the devil had set up. That was from the mind of the devil himself. And it's working right now. And I've seen this. You can be talking to a Hindu person face to face. From the time you mention the word Jesus, they turn away and walk away from you. Just like that. That's just insane to me. That's just mind-blowing. Because I'm not trying to scare them. I'm just trying to bless them, to tell them about Jesus, which we also will get into in the message. I believe that's our job. Save people, serve. We ought to serve God. We ought to go tell people about Jesus. Ain't nothing wrong with telling people about Jesus. I believe there's something wrong about keeping it to yourself and keeping it a secret. Listen, my salvation is not to keep to myself. I mean, if you buy a brand new car, you don't want to keep it in a garage locked up. You might want people to see it. If you're saved, that is the greatest treasure anybody can ever have, is salvation by the blood of Jesus Christ. I want people to see it. I want people to know about it, so they can have it as well. So let's go ahead and get reading in Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. And you know, we might have a lot of reading. We might end up reading nearly the whole chapter. You know, sometimes the Lord would have us read one verse of scripture, sometimes a whole chapter. Let's go ahead. Daniel chapter 6, verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give accounts unto them, and the king should have no damage. Now just if you have a pen, underline where it says Daniel. It says 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first. Let's just put a pin in that. Daniel is a president. Let's keep reading. Verse 3. Then this Daniel was preferred above all the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was found in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault, for as much he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes and the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any man, of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing, that it not be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which alter it not. Wherefore the king Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now listen to this. It says in verse 10, now Daniel knew that the writing was signed. He went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber towards Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. I want to make a point on this right here. It says he knew what would happen. He knew if he kept praying to his God, he would be thrown into a den of lions. He knew that, yet he kept praying to his God 3 times a day. Also, remember it mentioned he was a president. A president is a busy man. A prince is a busy man. A man of high power is busy. He has things to do. Yet he made time to pray to God 3 times a day. Now, sometimes when preachers preach, we preach to ourselves. Now, I may need to do some more praying. I don't nearly have as much to do as maybe Daniel had. because I'm not in the power he was in. But yet he made time to pray to God. He prioritized God. He had him number one. That is what I believe we should be doing. All of us. Every single one. Because God is the almighty being. The all-powerful being. The most important being. How can we not make time for him? I think it is important to make time for him. And not only did he make time, he also knew that he would be cast into a den of lions if he did make time. If he did pray. Yet he still did it anyways. It is easy to give in and say, well, I won't do it, because I don't want to be cast into a den of lions. It is easy to give in, but he did not give in. It says he prayed to his God 3 times a day. Verse 11. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree. Hast thou not signed a decree that every man shall ask a petition of any god or any man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which alter it not. Then answered they and said before the king, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regarded not thee. So basically they are telling on him, O king, know the decree that thou hast signed, but make it his petition 3 times a day. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Let's go ahead to verse 16. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel, thy God who thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. And his stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Now, I want to mention this. If someone is cast into a den of lions tonight, and you go in the morning to see what has become of them, what do you think you would see? Well, what I think I would see is I would not see them at all, because the lions would have eaten them alive. They would have been ripped to pieces. All you might see is blood. That's what I think. And that's what any logical person would think. But if you look here in verse 19, what it says, then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then said Daniel unto the king, O king, live forever. My God has sent his angels and has shut the lion's mouth, that they have not hurt me, for as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt. I want to say this. God sent an angel to come shut them out of the lions. You see what God can do for you when you prioritize him, when you put him first, in knowing that something bad will happen to you if you do so. He knows fully well what will happen to him if he kept praying to his God, that he will be thrown into a den of lions. He knew it, and he was a busy man, yet he made time to do something that would make him be cast into a den of lions. It makes no sense. But guess what? God seen that. God seen what he did and sent an angel to shut them out of the lions. Now keep reading. Verse 23. Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found in him. Look at this, because he believed in his God. I want to make it very clear how important it is to believe in God. In the verse in John 16, it says, whosoever believeth on him. It did not say whosoever did good works. It did not say whosoever repeated a prayer. It says whosoever believeth on him. And whosoever includes me, and it includes you and everybody in the world. Whosoever believeth on him. That goes for everybody. Everybody needs to believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you're not going to be saved. If you believe halfway, you're not going to be saved halfway. You're going to be saved 0%. You can only be 100% saved. That's how it works. It's either you are or not. And over here, it says Daniel believed. And guess what? I just want to say this real quick. My testimony. I was saved. You know why I was saved? The church building where it was located, where I was saved, it was surrounded by Hindu households. Surrounded by Hindu households everywhere you look. But guess what? In the midst of all that, I was saved that night because I believed. It doesn't matter who's around me. In the midst of all the Hinduism, in the midst of all the criminals, all the thieves, all the murderers, in the midst of all that, he was there to save my soul because I believed. I knew the conviction was real. I knew the peace that I got was 100% real. I have no doubt about that because I believe. And if he can do that for me, lost person, if there's any lost person in here tonight, if he can do that for me, why can't he do it for you too? He can do that for you. He can do that for anybody. It's not exclusive to a certain group of people. It's for everybody in the whole world. I'm sure this man really had God number one. Back to what I was saying. The title of this message, I don't usually title messages, but I'll title this one, just put God first. Put God first. I may not be doing such a good job of that, so I might be preaching to myself tonight. It's important to put God first. When you look around at the world today, people make time for everything but church. You hear all the excuses flooding in when it comes to church. They make up any excuse they can think of. But when it's time to go to the football game, they will be there. When it's time to go to the baseball game, they will be there. The basketball game, they will be there. The concert, they will be there. No excuses. But when it's time to go to church, there's an excuse. You don't come to church for us. It's for God. It's important. It shows how much if you are here right now, it shows something about you. You care about God. And on Wednesday night, some churches do Bible study. Some churches do Wednesday night service. People don't like to come to church on Wednesday night because they say they are tired after work. But I'm sure if there was and I'm also guilty of this, I'm sure if there was a football game they wanted to see on Wednesday night, being so tired, they'd make it their business to go see it. I'm sure if they were so tired and there's a concert they wanted to do, they will make an effort to go there and do so. But when it comes to God, the excuses start flooding in. Daniel didn't make no excuses. He did not make no excuses. And we ought to try to be more like him in the sense that we put God first and make time for God. It's very, very important. It shows something about you. When you go out there in the world, they notice. The world, listen how we Christians should be. We should, when you put God first, and when you are happy to talk about God, happy about saying that, I got to go to church. I don't have to go to church. I get to go to church. It's something I get to do. It's a blessing to be able to go to church. And when you act godly and when you try your best to please God, the people on the outside world will look at you and say, well, that's how a happy person is because they go to church and they have God. I want that for myself too. But when we go out there in the world, when we act like we love God tonight, but we party with the devil tomorrow, people will be like, well, if that's how they act, then I don't want to go to church. If they want to act that way, then I don't want to go to church. That's why we need to kind of set an example. Daniel set an example for us today. And today we need to set an example for the people who don't know nothing about God, who don't have Jesus, who don't go to church. We need to set an example, put God first so they can see what will happen. They can see, you act differently when you get saved. You're not the same. You're a whole new creature. He didn't fix you. You become brand new. You become born again. That's a whole new state. That's a whole new state you are. You get transformed from the state of being lost to the state of being saved. And you never go back to the state of being lost ever again. And when people see that, that makes them want to come even more. Because imagine if you see me. You see me at the, let's go with the bar. You see me at the bar. I don't know what you call it. Do you call it chugging? Is that a thing here where you chug I see the movies where you're chugging the beer. Someone would look at me, oh, is that what the preacher is doing? I don't want to ever go to church then if that's what he's doing. I don't want to be there. That's what they say when they look at us. But if we set an example like Daniel did for us and we can do for them, they might say, wait a minute. Look, he seems pretty happy. He's doing things that might be pleasing to God. I want to be like that. Now let's go ahead, flip a few pages back to Daniel chapter 3. We might just read one verse. So we all know the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. King Nebuchadnezzar set up an image of gold, and he wanted everyone to bow before the image of gold when there's a signal. There's a signal from instruments. When the instruments are played, that's when you bow. But 3 boys did not bow. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. 3. And Nebuchadnezzar got mad. He got so mad at them. So mad he wanted to throw them in the fiery furnace. And not only did he throw them into the fiery furnace, it was heated 7 times more than it was supposed to be. 7 times more. And it was so hot that the very men who threw them into the fire, they burned and died just from throwing them into the fire. So you can imagine what happens to the ones in the fire who are bound hand and foot in the fire. But guess what happened? When they looked into the fire, they said, wait a minute. Didn't we throw 3 of them bound in the fire? Well, I see 4 men loose walking, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God. Firstly, how do they know what the Son of God looks like? I'm telling you, I'm sure he looks so majestic. When you see him, you know exactly who it is. I'm sure he looks, you can just feel his presence. And that's what happens. You can be delivered like that when you stay faithful. If you look at verse 26, Daniel 3, verse 26, then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High God, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. I want to point out these 3 words right here. He said, the Most High God. Why did Nebuchadnezzar change his mind? Didn't he want everyone to bow to his gods? So why all of a sudden now he is saying Most High God? Why did he change his mind? Because you know why? He saw what God can do for people who are faithful to God. He saw that God can deliver them. Because I'm sure in his lifetime, as he is reigning as a king, he had seen many people maybe cried out to their gods for help. And they died. They didn't get the help. This had been the first time he had seen someone cry out to God and was delivered from the fiery furnace. So that's why it automatically opened his eyes to know that this is the Most High God. And he said it without hesitation. In his own life, he had probably, whatever false gods he has, he probably said, he probably cried out to them multiple times and said, deliver me, help me. And they didn't. They failed him because they don't exist. But when he saw someone cry out to the real God, someone stay faithful to the real God, that opened his eyes. And it's common sense when you see something like that. That is a real God. You tell me these 3 men went into the fire and they came out smelling like nothing, like the fire. You can't even smell the smoke on them. Their hair is perfectly fine. No burns on their clothes. They are perfectly fine. When you see something like that happen, you know it's real. You know God is real. You know what they did? They put God first. They had to have put God first and not bow to the statue, knowing that they will be cast into the fiery furnace. They had to have put God first in their life. They had to have prioritized Him. And I believe today we need more prioritizing of God. Even myself, we need to put Him first more. And not only that, we need to have faith. Not only that, we need to obey. We need to believe. We need to pray to Him, worship Him, make time for Him, make time for God. Not for the world. I'm sure we have hobbies, we have things we enjoy doing, but the best thing you can do is make time for God and have faith in God. We all know the story of the woman with the issue of blood. She believed. She said, if I may touch but the hem of His garment, I might be made whole. And she did. She had faith and she was healed. And the blind man, I believe Brother James mentioned this blind man at Oak Grove in the youth weekend. The blind man, when Jesus spat on the ground, picked up the mud and put it on his eyes and told him wash in the pool of Siloam, he did what Jesus told him to do, and he was healed because he obeyed. He received his sight because he obeyed. Now, had he not obeyed, had he said, what are you doing? Why do you put mud in my eyes? And he wiped it off, he would not have been healed because he did not obey. But today, if we put Him first and obey Him, we might see something change happening in our life. If we obey Him like we ought to, we might see a change happening. If we obey Him, we might see blessings flowing in. If we have faith and we believe and we make time for Him and put Him number one as He rightfully deserves, we might see some changes happening for the better, only for the better. And I've seen a lot of people change. People change over time. People might use you for something. They might be good, friendly because they want something from you. And when they get it, you see that they completely change because they no longer need you. But God, He is always going to be good. He's never going to change. He's always going to be deserving of Him being number one in our priority list. He will always be number one. He will always be the one who we ought to prioritize 100% all day, every day. He will never change and become lesser to the point where we no longer need to prioritize Him. He will always be number one, God. And you know who always be number one? Jesus Christ, who is the fullness of God in the flesh. And I want to, as we're coming down to the tail end of the message, I want to say, He's coming back. He is coming back. People don't want to believe it, but He's coming back. And I have noticed something. We see a lot of UFO sightings on the news, on social media, unidentified flying objects. We see a bunch of those floating around on the internet because they want to use that as an excuse. They want to say, when the rapture happens and we disappear, people disappear from the face of the earth, they want to say, well, the UFOs abducted them. The UFOs got them. That's why they disappeared. No. The object that is coming to get me has been identified, and His name is Jesus Christ, and He is coming with all power and authority given unto Him by the Master, and nobody will be able to stop Him. And people might make a mockery and say, let Him him come back, we will crucify him again. He is not coming as a lamb slain from the foundation of the world. He is coming as a lion of the tribe of Judah, and nobody will be able to stop him. Not even death itself can defeat Jesus. So who is going to stop him? And he's going to come back and get us with him. He's going to come back and appear, and we're going to disappear. We're going to vanish. We're going to be caught up in the air. We're going to be caught up. And guess what? Guess what? If I jump right now, guess what? Gravity is going to pull me back down. But when that trumpet sounds, ain't no gravity going to hold me down. When that trumpet sounds, we will defy gravity. All those who are saved, all those who have made it right with God, will defy gravity and be caught up in the air, and will not go up by an airplane, but we will go up in plain air. We will go up in just air. Just nothing will be pulling us up. We wouldn't have no elevators. We wouldn't have no helicopters. We will just be going up. And guess what? I'm going up, but guess what? The clothes will remain. I came into this world naked. I'm going to leave naked. But guess what? I'm not going to leave the same way I came in. I came in I was born a sinner. But guess what? When I leave, I'm going as a person who is saved. I'm going with Jesus. I'm going to be naked from when the time I come in. I'm going out, but I ain't going to be the same, because I'm going to be saved when it's time to go. I'm going to have Jesus with me when it's time to go. And guess what? I'm not the only person who can say that. All the other lost people can say that, and all the other saved people can say that, and all the other lost people can say that if they become saved, which is something that can happen to them. But who do they have to go to? They have to go to God. This world right now is trying to make it seem like they don't need God, but they absolutely 100% need God. Well, when you look at India, why is it so bad in India? Why is it so bad? People they ran out of food, they have to eat domesticated animals. Why is it so bad? They don't have gods. They don't have the real God. They have the false gods, but they don't have Jesus Christ. Why is it so bad in China? Why is it so bad? Because they don't have Jesus Christ. They're all Buddhists and atheists. They don't have Jesus. Then they are surprised when it's so bad. Why do you think it's so bad in Trinidad? Because they're all Hindus. They don't have Jesus Christ. Maybe if everybody had Jesus, it would be so much better. But they don't ever seem to think about that, because the devil has laid his traps already. And his traps has been set for those people to believe the way they believe. And they don't want to change. But guess what? Imagine what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego felt, being there and seeing everybody else bow to that image of gold. Everybody else, they were the only three not bowing to it. And they were the only three going to be cast into the fiery furnace. It's so easy in that situation to give in and say, well, I don't want to be cast into the fire. I don't want that to happen to me. I'm just going to bow. I'm going to bow, but I'm not going to mean it. I'm going to bow to the image of gold, but I'm not going to mean it. God will forgive me. They didn't do that. They said, no, I ain't bowing. I ain't bowing to nobody but the one true God, the most high God, the almighty God. That is the only one I'll bow to. And they had to have prioritized him, to love him so much to the point where they don't care about being cast into the fiery furnace. And I think that's how we should be, how we should try to be today. We should try to have him number one. And keep it that way. Brother, I think I'm done. I think the Lord is done with me.
I'm going to give you all an opportunity, if you have testimony or word of encouragement, anything you want to share tonight. But one of the things that struck me as Brother Meshach was preaching was talking about the three who would stand for the Lord and would not bow when all the others did. That's not a theoretical thing in his life, but it's been something that his family has experienced, being in such a minority in that place, and to be willing to stand for the Lord and to not waver on that. And the blessing of how God, whether it's in the fiery furnace, or it's in the lion's den when one was willing to stand, or it's in a little church in the midst of a Hindu culture where there were people willing to call upon the Lord, that the Lord would visit that place and bring his saving grace and mercy. The Lord is the same. He's the same. No matter where you are, if he is the first thing, then he will be everything that you need, and he will meet you and meet with you in that place. And I praise God for that. And I praise God for Brother Meshach's passion and his knowledge of the Word and the insights that God is giving him. And I believe that God has used that tonight, and it's been an encouragement in my heart. And I hope that it has been in yours as well. And it's a blessing.